Imagine the scenario. It's a national holiday. Maybe it's Australia Day, or maybe it's just a quiet Sunday, and you get this sudden crushing pressure to be a quote-unquote good parent.
Hmm.
You look at your 2-year-old who is currently trying to shove a crayon up their nose, and you think, I need to teach them about their country. I need to impart history. I need to explain national identity.
And then you hit the wall.
Yeah.
Because you realize your audience is a toddler whose understanding of the world is like 90% about what snacks are currently available.
Exactly. It's a relatable panic. We want our kids to be informed, connected citizens, but the gap between national history, with all its complexity, and toddler reality feels like a canyon.
A huge canyon.
But, and this is why I'm so excited about the stack of research we have today, it turns out we've been overcomplicating it. We've been trying to teach the wrong subject.
We really have. Today's a deep dive specifically for the parents, carers, and grandparents of that, that 2 to 4-year-old crowd. We're pulling apart the Australian Curriculum Foundation and the Early Years Learning Framework, or EYLF. Now, normally, these are heavy, dry government documents. Right. But we aren't here to lecture you.
No, our mission today is translation. We're translating those curriculum outcomes into a stress-free, play-based guide. We're answering the question, how do I explain Australia to a toddler without losing my mind?
And the big aha moment for you was...
It's the shift in focus right there in the introduction of the framework. The sources are screaming one thing. Stop trying to teach history.
Right. That's the critical unlock. For a toddler, learning about Australia isn't about the past. Developmentally, they just don't have the cognitive architecture to understand linear time yet.
Yesterday and last year are pretty much the same thing.
Exactly. So the curriculum shifts the focus entirely to place. It's about anchoring them in their immediate reality.
So we're going to unpack how to do that without turning your living room into a classroom. We're going to look at 3 circles of belonging: the home, the street, and the country. And looking at the notes here, the research suggests that by the end of this, you'll realize you're probably already hitting high-level educational outcomes just by drinking your morning coffee.
It's surprisingly intuitive once you strip away all that academic pressure.
Let's start with the big picture, though, just to set the boundaries. When we say Australia in a school context, I usually think dates, maps, explorers, maybe some abstract symbolism about flags.
And that's exactly what the foundation year curriculum, that's the first official year of school, starts to touch on. But our sources are very clear. For the years before school, so for ages 2 to 4, none of that applies.
None of it.
The sources explicitly state that history, dates, colonization, and national symbolism are not expected or required.
That is a massive relief. I think parents feel like if they aren't explaining 1788, they're somehow failing.
But that information would just bounce right off them. It's too abstract. Instead, the early years learning framework focuses on belonging.
Okay.
The goal is simply to establish that Australia is the country we live in. It's all about identity formation.
So practically speaking, what does that look like? If I'm not reading a history book, what am I actually doing?
You're building a sense of location. The sources suggest using a globe or a map, but not for a geography lecture. You're not teaching latitude or state lines.
So no pop quiz on the capital of Tasmania?
No. You were just physically pointing to a spot and saying, we're here, this is where we live.
It's almost like that "you are here" star on a shopping mall map. It's just about orientation.
Precisely. This links directly to Outcome 1 of the EYLF, which is identity, and Outcome 2, community and belonging. The goal isn't knowledge retrieval, it's grounding.
It's a feeling.
You want the child to feel, I am here, this is my spot on the big ball. It provides a sense of security.
I love that. It takes the pressure off explaining the why and focuses entirely on the where.
Right.
But let's zoom in, because even Australia as a landmass is a huge concept for a kid who thinks the supermarket is an epic day trip.
It is.
The sources talk about shrinking this down to the first circle of belonging.
Yes, my home.
This part of the research was fascinating to me because it seems almost, well, too simple to be educational. The research implies that just talking about your house counts as curriculum-based learning. Is that really true?
It absolutely is. If you look at the humanities curriculum for this age group, it focuses on recognizing familiar places. So the activity here isn't a worksheet, it's a tour.
A house tour.
You walk into the kitchen and you just say, this is the kitchen, we cook food here. You walk into the bedroom, we sleep here.
Which, to an adult, that sounds incredibly redundant. We know it's a kitchen.
To us, yes. But you have to view it through the toddler's lens. They are new here. By naming the room and its function, you are categorizing their world. You're teaching them purpose.
And giving them the vocabulary.
Right. And there's a deeper layer here, too, linked to outcome 3, well-being. The sources mentioned discussing who lives in the house.
Like listing the family members. Mommy, daddy, the dog.
Exactly. It sounds so basic, but declaring this is our safe place and these are the people who belong here builds emotional security. It reinforces that home is a predictable, safe environment.
And that emotional safety is the foundation for everything else, right?
It's a prerequisite for any future learning. If they don't feel safe, they can't learn.
Okay, so we're narrating the house tours. But the sources also mentioned construction play in this section. This is where I think parents can get a bit more hands-on.
This is where we accidentally do technologies education. The curriculum includes a section on design and technologies. And for a toddler, that looks like building a house with blocks, Duplo, or even just cardboard boxes.
I see construction play, and I just think...
Keeping them busy.
Yeah, exactly. But the notes here suggest there's actual engineering logic happening.
There is. When a child builds a house, even a crude one, they're exploring material properties. They're designing a structure. They're testing ideas. If I put this big, heavy block on this small, wobbly block, it falls.
That's rapid prototyping. That's physics.
It is. It's not just making a mess. It's structural testing. And you can guide it gently to connect it back to home.
How so?
You just ask questions. Does your house have a door? Where do the people sleep? Is there a roof? You're connecting the physical act of building back to the concept of shelter.
It's amazing how just changing the questions we ask turns it from distraction into education. But I want to move to the next level. We've established the home. Now we move to the second circle of belonging.
We step out the front door.
My street and community.
This is a huge part of the where we live theme. The curriculum wants children to understand their local environment, which is the world immediately outside their gate.
And the suggested activity here is the street walk, or as I like to call it, the suburban safari. But this isn't a power walk for fitness. It's slow.
Painfully slow sometimes, but that's the point. The sources suggest walking down your street and actively noticing things, not just walking to get somewhere, but walking to observe.
Look for mailboxes, road signs,
Sense of-
and bins. The sources specifically mention bins. I laughed when I read that.
They do. And believe it or not, this connects to civics.
Okay, you're going to have to draw the line for me.
Sure.
How does a wheelie bin connect to civics and citizenship?
Think about what a bin represents. When you point out a bin and explain, the truck comes to take this away, or point out a post box and say, the postie puts letters in here, you are introducing community helpers.
Oh, right.
You are introducing the concept that we live in a system where people help each other.
That's a really profound shift. It introduces the idea that the household isn't an island. There are services.
Correct. It connects the child to the services they see in their world. It's the very beginning of understanding society. And this brings us to the garbage truck moment.
I was hoping we'd get here.
Okay.
Every parent knows the obsession with the garbage truck. It's like a celebrity sighting in our house.
It is. And instead of dismissing it, the sources say to lean into it. Playing with vehicles, especially community vehicles like garbage trucks or fire engines, is highly educational.
It helps them role-play those community connections.
Exactly. So when your kid is crashing a toy garbage truck into a wall, they are actually processing their understanding of municipal services.
Well, the crashing part might be exploring impact force.
True. But the context is civics. They are reenacting the systems they observe. The truck takes the rubbish. It's a sequence.
Speaking of hidden lessons, I found the hidden mathematics section fascinating. I usually think of math as sitting down and counting apples, but the sources point out that a walk around the block is basically a geometry lesson.
It's everywhere. The mathematics curriculum for this age includes counting objects and understanding position. So as you walk, you can count the houses. 1, 2, 3.
You can compare sizes. That tree is big, this bush is small.
But it was the spatial language that really jumped out at you, right?
Yeah. The prepositions,
Yeah.
words like next to, on, under,
Yeah.
near. The car is next to the curb. The bin is on the road.
This is developing spatial awareness, and that's so important because spatial reasoning is a massive predictor of future STEM success. Understanding how objects relate to each other in space is the foundation for geometry and even engineering later on. And you build that foundation just by narrating a walk.
It's incredible how much you can pack into a 20-minute walk without it feeling like a lesson. You're just talking.
And that's the key. You are narrating the world. To you, it's a bin on a curb. To them, it's an object with a purpose, placed in a specific location. It's a rich learning environment.
Okay, we've built the house, we've walked the street, now let's get physical. The sources have a section on health and physical education and the arts. How does that fit in?
Through the natural environment and animals. Kids love animals, and Australian animals are so unique in how they move.
This is the part where parents might look a bit silly, but I'm here for it.
Mm.
The sources suggest movement-based play.
Right. Instead of just looking at a picture of a kangaroo in a book, you act it out. This covers the health and physical education requirement for body awareness and the arts requirement for expressing ideas through movement.
So give us the moves. What are you doing?
Well, the classics. Jumping like a kangaroo, great for gross motor skills. Waddling like an echidna or a wombat, that creates a different center of gravity.
I can do a solid wombat waddle, low to the ground.
Exactly. And crawling like a lizard, that's excellent for core strength and cross-body coordination, which is actually linked to reading skills later on.
Wait, crawling like a lizard helps reading skills.
It does. It's called cross-lateral movement, where the left arm and right leg move together. It helps integrate the two hemispheres of the brain, which is the neural architecture you eventually need for tracking words across a page.
That is wild. So my toddler, crawling under the coffee table pretending to be a lizard, is actually prepping their brain for literacy.
In a roundabout way, yes. And let's not forget flapping like a cockatoo or a kookaburra, which helps with upper body awareness.
It sounds chaotic, but it's actually connecting them to the character of the country, isn't it?
It is. It's embodied learning. They aren't just memorizing the name kangaroo. They are feeling the energy of it.
Yeah.
And it burns off energy.
Which is always a win.
Always a win for the parents.
I want to pause here because I can hear the gears turning in some listeners' heads. We've listed a lot of activities. And there's that nagging voice, the parent guilt voice, that says, I tried this. My kid looked at the bin for 3 seconds and then wanted to go home. Am I failing?
That is the most important thing to address. The sources are incredibly validating on this point. If your lesson lasts 2 minutes, you have succeeded.
Really? Because it feels like a failure if we don't complete the activity.
The verdict from the experts is chill out. The philosophy of the EYLF is follow the child's lead. There is no right way to do these things. Attention spans at this age are naturally short.
So if the street walk only lasts to the end of the driveway because they found a cool rock and refused to move, that's okay.
That is perfect. In fact, that rock is now the lesson. The sources explicitly mention that repetition and unfinished activities are developmentally appropriate.
They're normal.
They're normal. You just pivot the lesson to the rock. Is it hard? Is it smooth? Where did it come from?
So we don't need to force a 45-minute lesson plan.
Absolutely not. In fact, if you try to force it, you lose the benefit. The learning happens in the connection and the conversation. This links to outcome 5, communication.
Right.
Just talking about the rock or the bin or the block tower is the lesson.
That is such a relief. We think teaching requires a whiteboard and a serious voice.
Yeah.
But really is just chatting.
It's what neuroscientists call serve and return. They point, the serve, you name it, the return. That back and forth interaction is how the brain builds its architecture for learning.
It's about the exchange, not the content.
Exactly.
What about those listening who have slightly older toddlers, maybe pushing 4, or siblings? Can we extend these ideas?
Definitely. For the blockhouse, maybe you draw a simple plan first on a piece of paper, just a square and a triangle. That introduces the idea that drawings can represent real objects.
Okay.
Or on the street walk, maybe you take photos of the numbers on the letterboxes and look at them later. It's still clay, but it adds a tiny layer of abstraction.
But again, only if they're interested, right?
Strictly if they are interested. If they want to go back to being a lizard, you go back to being a lizard.
So we aren't trying to create mini historians. We're trying to create kids who feel at home and feel heard.
Exactly. The goal isn't a history lesson, it's a feeling of belonging. The win isn't that they know the date of Australia Day. The win is that they know their street, they know their home, and they feel safe and connected to where they live.
It brings it all back to that word, belonging.
It does. When a child feels they belong to a place, whether that's the living room or the local park, they develop confidence. And that confidence is the foundation for all future learning.
So to recap the deep dive mission today, we've broken this down into 3 simple tiers.
Right. Tier 1, home. Name the rooms, list the people, build it with blocks.
Tier 2, street. Walk it, count the houses for math, spot the bins for civics, and salute the garbage truck for community systems.
And Tier 3, country. Point to the map for orientation, say we live here, and jump like a kangaroo for that physical connection.
It is simple, actionable, and zero pressure.
And completely aligned with the national curriculum. You're hitting outcomes in geography, civics, math, technologies, and arts just by living your life.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave the listener with one thought that really stood out to me from the sources, specifically regarding outcome 4. Confident and involved learners.
This is a crucial one to end on.
It's the idea that by letting your child explore their street or build that wonky block house, you aren't just filling time on a public holiday. You're doing something deeper about their agency.
You're teaching them to be an observer. You are teaching them that they are an active participant in their world. They aren't just bystanders watching cars go by. They are part of the community that uses the road.
It empowers them.
It gives them agency. And for a 2-year-old, realizing I have a place here and I can affect things here is a massive developmental milestone. It transforms them from a passive baby into an active child.
So this Australia Day, or really any day you're home with the little ones, don't worry about the history books.
Put the books down.
Go build a low-pressure block tower.
Or take a walk and go find a really nice bin.
Exactly. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.